Our brains are hardwired to respond to and hold visual information very differently than any other form of information or communication that exists.
Right.
If you think back to just the very first form of communication we ever had, it was visual communication with cave paintings on walls. As we've evolved over time, we've picked up the written word, and the written word is really just a series of symbols that have meanings associated to them as well, that's strung together equal content, but we don't think in text. A test I always give when I'm presenting to people is I always say, when I say the word dog, what pops into your head? And I have people shout out my cat, or I have people shout out a bone, or people shout out a dog, but I don't ever have people say the letters D, O, and G. And it's because pictures are what pop into our head as we're remembering things or considering any audible information that comes at us, or any text-based information. And so the idea is our brain is constantly taking information in and processing it into images to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So by just communicating visually from the beginning, we're basically skipping a step. We're not forcing the brain to process something into an image. The visual cortex is the largest and strongest part of our brain for a reason. Babies, when they're learning how to communicate, they communicate visually first. They recognize pictures in storybooks before they understand what their mother or father is reading to them.
Right.
And so because it's innate and hardwired in us to process everything visually, it makes sense that when we're given visual information, we have a much higher likelihood to remember and retain that information down the road than we do written information or verbal information, audible information. And so that's why that's where that statistic comes from. And that statistic specifically, there have been additional studies related to that specific one.
Right.
And some of those studies have come out and said, actually, it's more like 90% of the information that we actually retain and will remember 3 weeks down the road is visual information.
Yeah.